you're a talented, really talented guy, and you do stuff that's, you know, a lot more important than pimping women. So I think that fucking you would in no time. The way to start, Tommy, though, my recommendation would be fucking get a fucking website, you know, and fucking copyright the name, Tommy in Glasgow, and get some the usual, you know, people that call in, do your own shit. You know, you calling up somebody, and then eventually, you know, you get such a following, you might think about asking, you know, for fucking membership donations so that you could, you know, fund it. Let's face it, you know, I don't know a fucking wireless company on earth that gives free data or free fucking minutes. And yeah, bro, I would be visiting your website. It would be totally in my favorites bar for sure.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, right, look, over here, look, we're kind of backwards for the radio stuff, whereas over in the USA, I mean, you look at the size of it, and the market for radio, and not just that, internet radio, is more viable because, and I've spoke to a guy who works in Talk Sport, Mike Graham. I've befriended him over a number of years when I used to phone his radio station, and I remember having a chat with him off air not so long ago about the viability, and he's even dipped his toes in it, and he's knew other people about it, and he reckons just because of the size of the market, it's too small for a little guy to make it, to get the money in the advertising, because when you go for advertising, once you open that up, then you have to be careful of what you're saying, because the minute you've got somebody who's backing your station, you know, if you say something that is going to get somebody antagonised about it, then you could lose that sponsorship. And that's what you've got to do. Once you start going down that line of sponsorship or whatever, you have to mind your P's and Q's or whatever you're saying. And then could I be bothered doing that, you know? And, well, over here in the UK, with the market being smaller, the opportunities to make a living out it and sustain it it's limited. It's probably not possible to make a living out it and to run it. Whereas over in the US of A, with the size of it and with the eagerness of people to listen to anything and everything, you know, on the radio, then you know there's an opportunity to do it in some way, shape, or form over your way than it is here. But I don't know. Maybe it'll change. Maybe it'll change in the future. Maybe it's going to be easier over here in 5-10 years. Who knows?
I think that the internet, though, kind of, you know, doesn't level the playing field, but it gives the little fish that you're talking about, you know, a better shot in the bigger waters.
Yeah, shit, yeah.
You know, but I definitely, I see what your point, but then trying to, you know, reach out across the pond electronically doesn't require the same amount of fucking shuttle it'll take you to fly here, set up, you know, your fucking infrastructure here, and then do it. But if you establish a fucking base, you know, it's amazing what you can fucking accomplish business-wise online. You know, like 10, 12 years ago, you couldn't just go out of fucking town and pay your fucking bills online. You know, most people you had to pay weren't set up for that shit, you know. Now you can go look at me. I'm never in the fucking place where a fucking envelope is going to come to me with my name on it and a fucking bill, and I'm going to sit down and write a fucking check and send that shit back. No way. You can do every fucking thing online, Tommy. This specifically, you know, your talent and your focused fucking audience is electronic, I think, you know? But I'd love you. You know what I want to ask you, though, politically? I'm a big fan of George Galloway. Ever since, you know, everybody's always retweeting him on my timeline. And I did videos, I read some of his shit. And he's a very, very, like, I agree with that guy's political philosophy 100%, other than the whole independence issue. And again, I know, before anybody feels the need to tell me I'm a Yank, so it's not my business, but I love politics, and I dislike the English monarchy, as you know. I'm just wondering, I know that he says that he's against independence. Mm-hmm. I really haven't seen any, his point. But one of the points, things that he says would happen was that it would go become like it is or was in Northern Ireland. With the fucking Orange institution having a lot of fucking power. And if that's the case, then I say, look what happened in the occupied six. They're totally now, heading toward one day being the fucking United Ireland. This was a good stepping stone toward it. So I don't think that. I think ultimately, I'm just wondering, what's your take on fucking Scottish independence?
I'm very closely aligned to George Galloway's opinion of what the disaster that it could be, and unless the independence is from the bankers, unless we, the people of Scotland, the United Kingdom, or the planet, anywhere in any country that's oppressed by these bankers, unless we get a chance to vote the bankers out, then any other independence is just a fraud and is just a fake. And that includes Scotland and Ireland. I mean, even if Ireland was to be united and the 32 counties would be good, and if Britain was to be taken out of it, unless Ireland was free from the Rothschild banking cabal, then there's still going to be an island that is going to be owned and controlled by an outside source, and it's still going to be treated in a bad way and still at the behest of these illegal banksters. So Scotland, Ireland, whatever, the people who control the money supply control the country. So Alex Salmond, he's even spoke about keeping the Queen. He's even spoke about keeping the British pound and keeping the Bank of England and keeping with the interest rate. So if that is independence, then I'm the Bishop of Cork wearing a fucking pink nightie. It's for me, that, I mean, I don't know the way I'm trying to put it here, Rocky, is right. I want independence for Scotland, right? And I want independence for Ireland, right? But it's to get that, you've got to get independence from the bankers who control it. Because any other independence, I mean, James Connolly spoke about it, that in a different way from the way I'm saying it, but he did actually speak about how the banks controlled it. But he spoke about, unless Ireland was a socialist island, he's called it, unless Ireland, was going to address the problems of the people who were controlling the land and ruling the place, unless that is sorted, then what's the point of fighting for it? What's the point of asking for independence or demanding independence? What's the point of people laying down their lives if it's not going to be a proper solution? And that's what I think. It's not a proper solution, this, Rocky. It's going to be a fucked up solution and a fucked up situation that I don't think we need.
I remember reading that James Connolly's comments on the banks and real estate, still controlling it. It's an excellent fucking 100% true point in my belief. But I always look at it like when I vote Democrat, and I don't feel represented by either of these parties for a lot of the reasons that you just cited. I agree with that. But it's going to be what it's going to be until it fucking changes, however it changes. So I look at it as the Democratic people, the Democrat Party is going to fuck me less. So I go with them because we still got to make our fucking way in the world. I totally get your fucking point. But knowing it's going to be one way or the other, you know what I mean? I would say, and I don't really know a fucking thing because I've never been over there, but I just thought anything that detaches you from that fucking wretched fucking monarchy that hates half of its subjects,
But that's what I'm saying, right? Well, Alex Salmond is still going to be tied to the Queen. So he's still saying Scotland is going to be tied to the Queen, that the Queen is going to be a monarchy. So, I mean, the Queen is tied in with the banking cabal. You know, her family is married in. Battenberg, Mountbatten, is intermarried with Rothschild at various stages along the line. You know, the British royal family only existed or kept their heads on when other royal families were having their heads chopped off, only because their acquiescence with the new power on the block that was emerging, which was the Rothschilds. So the Battenberg, Mountbatten cartel, you know, they exist along with the so I hear what you're saying, Rocky, right? And I hear what all the nationalists in Scotland and Ireland who want the independence for, you know, each country. And I'm just putting my viewpoint, okay, fine, let's get independence, but there have to be a warning as well that what is it? What is the independence you want, really? If Scotland's going to get independence, well, is that independence that we're still part of the British banking stuff? Is it independence that we've still got the Queen as a monarchy? You know, how is that independence? It's just, you know, some people might be happy with it, Rocky, but I'm certainly not going to be happy with it.
I don't know who this fucking Alex Salmon character is, but he should swim upstream and lay his fucking eggs, because you can't even define that as fucking independence. That's fucking totally ridiculous, and it's a sham. I thought it was going to be like, you know, they're over there, you're over here, and everything's cool, you know? Fuck that.
No, because, well, see, I mean, if it was to be a case of that, I mean, it would probably be having a fatwa on his head by the morning, by the Orange Lodges. I mean, if he was to come out and say, look, when we get independence, the Queen will no longer be the head of state, and we're not going to have the pound, we're going to have the haggis, we're going to have the haggis note, you know, and we're going to be out with the Queen. I mean, the Orange Lodges, they'd be burning everything up before you would know it. So he's had to come along, and when it was pushed for the question, it was pushed and said, well, we'll still have the Queen as a head of state, and we'll still keep the pound. So, as I said, what independence? So people are getting het up about it and arguing about it and saying, oh yeah, it's going to be good, and we'll not have the Tories in government. But then what I would say to you is, the powers that be that are controlling Scotland now, they're targeting Celtic fans for singing our songs. They're targeting the Irish culture about singing songs about the Roll of Honour and different stuff. They're targeting us now more than what the Tories ever targeted us. And just because the Tories are further down the road, 400 miles away, and the economic shit is been bad because of them, well, we're still going to be affected by the Tories. If the Tories are going to be elected as government in England, then they're our neighbours, so we're still going to have to deal with them in many aspects. So people think that, oh yeah, we'll not have to deal with the Tories and we'll not have a Tory government anymore. Well, the fact that just 80 miles down the road, you go into England, and everything gets transported across the border back and forward. So we're going to have to deal with the English, and if they've got a Tory government, we're going to have to deal with a Tory government. You know, there's so much. Look at it, Rocky, right? Is, say you're sitting there having a big blunt, you're sitting there chilled out. You don't want 50 screaming drunk women invading your room, screaming at the top of their fucking voice, wired to the moon with coke and fucking booze, right? You get 50 women, you were sat there having a blunt, just chilled out. Now you've got a fucking huge headache. You've got 50 fucking problems, 50 fucking crazy wired ass bitches fucking going at it yaldy. And where's your solution? And that's what I think is going to happen here. We're sitting here the now, we think we've got a problem the now. Well, times it by 50 and then work out where do you start to fix that. You're just going to say, look, take me to the room and give me a blunt and put me to fucking sleep, because that's